Hi everyone again, it's Mr. Ala. Today I am here to discuss with you guys part 2 from lesson 3. Part 2 from lesson 3 talking about transfer, or we can say move, or we can say flow, heat, energy. Okay, the first thing we need to know, there is three main way or three methods to transfer the energy. Method number 1, conduction. Method number 3, convection. Method number 3, radiation. Those Tion. Those are the three main methods to transfer the energy. In part 2, we're only gonna talk about condensation and convection. We will talk about conduction and convection. Okay, then part 3, we will talk about radiation. Now I will show you a clear video, guys. I need you to pay attention to this video and to listen and watch carefully, please. After that, we will write summary as well and write our own notes. Then we will solve the exercise.
There are three methods of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation.
Heat is all around us every second of our lives. While we may not realize it, heat transfer is extremely relevant in all of our lives. That's right, the heat isn't just there, it's constantly moving. But how does heat transfer exactly work? Let's take a look.
Convection is the form of heat transfer that deals with the movement of a liquid or gas. This may seem complicated, but it's a method of heat transfer that's really not too complicated at all. The key thing to remember when thinking about convection is movement. Conduction is the transfer of heat by direct contact. It's as simple as it sounds, touching something and heat transferring between two objects. For example, if I touch a hot plate or pot, I'm going to feel the heat because I'm touching it. It's direct contact, and it's conduction. Radiation is the transfer of heat through indirect contact, so not touching. It's basically heat traveling through air or space. Radiation is very common because it's the primary method of heat transfer we think of when we're talking about fire or the sun. Probably two of the first things that come to mind when you think about heat. So let's take a look at a few different examples of heat transfer, and all three ways. We'll start in a familiar place, the kitchen. So here in the kitchen we have a very ordinary sight, a pot of boiling water. This pot represents conduction, because the pot is on the heat element, in this case a gas-fed fire, and that's what's heating up the water. And although the water may be doing something else, which we'll talk about a little later, the way the pot is getting heat is through conduction, direct contact with the fire and the metal grate. In a standard dwelling, you're probably going to have some form of heating system to keep you warm in the winter months. My house and a lot of other modern houses have a heating system that represents the heat transfer convection. Like I said before, convection is the form of heat transfer that deals with movement and often cycles. So in this case, the cool air in my house sinks to the floor. It's pulled in by a few vents that are near the floor that bring it into the furnace. It's heated. There may be a different form of heat transfer going on in there. That's besides the point. And then it is blown out through vents on the walls or even on the ceiling. It heats up my house, and then once the air gets cold, it sinks back down, goes into the vents, gets heated, and it becomes a cycle. This is what we call a convection current. And my heating system and many others deals with convection. Now, a place in a house that we can find radiation, you're probably going to say the microwave. And while it's all over the place, let's talk about that because that's probably the number one thing you think of when I tell you radiation. So you all know what microwave popcorn is. You probably have it every time you want to just sit down and have a family movie or just a quick snack. But how does the popcorn magically go into the microwave? You hit go and it magically pops and heats up. In a microwave's case, it's radio waves being sent through the air, which is still kind of like radiation because it's going through the air. It makes the water in food vibrate very quickly at an atomic level, and then it causes it to, in the popcorn, burst or heat up. Now, the ocean is a very good example of heat transfer, and you might think, oh, the ocean is really cold, especially up here in New Jersey. But it is actually one of the best ways we can demonstrate convection, conduction, and radiation. Let's start with convection. The sun heats the ocean mostly at the equator. Although everything gets sunlight, the direct area that gets the most sunlight is right at the equator. And because of the Earth's shape and how it rotates, the water starts to rise because it's warmer. And it rises up and rises up and rises up. And it also goes down, and it forms a circle. And as it goes up or down, it gets cooler because it's away from the equator, and then it comes back to the equator to be heated up again. And this just keeps going in a cycle, and that's another instance of a convection current. And the oceans also have radiation because the way the ocean is being heated is by radiational heat from the sun, in direct contact. And of course conduction, because the ocean heats up the land around it because it's direct contact with a warmer body, or in this case a colder body, but heat can transfer in both ways, so it's conduction. Weather is another good example that we can find heat transfer all over the place in. Let's say you're at the beach and it's a very sunny day out. The heat that you're feeling is radiational heat from the sun. Like we talked about before, how the ocean gets heated. Your body's heated in the same way. It's in direct contact with sun waves that are hot coming from the sun. Now let's say you go outside on a cold day and you don't have a jacket on. Your heat is going to be taken away because of convection. The warm air escapes from your body into the air and the cool air comes in, so the heat is being taken away in the process of convection because there's no direct contact. Now as far as conduction, let's say it's snowing and you feel a snowflake hit your hand. It's going to feel cold because your body is warmer than the snowflake. As we all know, our bodies maintain a temperature of about 98.6 degrees, and a snowflake's going to be in the low 30s. When you feel the cold from the snowflake, it's the process of heat transfer conduction because it's direct contact. The snowflake is directly on your skin. Now, another kind of sciencey example of how heat transfer works is in plate tectonics, or in other words, things that cause earthquakes. So there's magma in the core of the Earth, the middle of the Earth. And it heats up and expands and rises to the top of the mantle, which is the outer layer of the inner layer, basically, of the Earth. And as the magma spreads out beneath the plates are dragged apart and move apart from each other, which causes seafloor spreading. This relates to convection because it's a cycle of hot magma going up and down when getting hotter and colder. Plate tectonics also represent conduction because the heat from the core heats up the mantle, and that's what makes the plates move apart. And as far as radiation goes, the core has lava, which is radiational heat. So now that I've told you about a few examples, let's take a more fun route and do a quick experiment.
Okay guys, after watch this video, now we need to know how heat move or transfer or flow. We said through three different ways or three different methods: conduction, and from the video that when we saw conduction when two objects indirect touch. The other method, convection, which is mean when heat move through liquid and gas. Now please everyone, let's open up the book and we will highlight some really important notes from our lesson, then we will do the exercise. Please open up your book, page 450 and 451. Thank you. Now in our lesson, which is heat on the move, or that's mean how is the energy move, we said we have two different now conduction is a transfer or movement of heat between two objects that are touching. It can occur within an object. Heat moves from inside your body to warm your skin. This is an example. Now if you look at this picture out here, you will see this is hand, which is object with high temperature, and the snowball here, it's another object with a low temperature. So we will see how the heat energy will start move or transfer from your hand to the snowball. That's why when you catch a snowball you feel cold. Other example, I have a soup bowl here with a spoon. Okay, those are two different objects. This is an object and this is another object. Now in this is object is the higher temperature, and this is object, which is the spoon, the lower temperature. Okay, then we will feel the heat move from the soup to the spoon. That's why it's hot when you touch it. All right. Now the other method, which is convection, is a transfer of heat within a liquid or gas. Particles in liquid and gases move easily and they take heat with them. Now let's explain those example about convection. And this is example right here. Okay, I have two method of a transfer of energy. I have a direct, which is the stove heats the butt directly. This is conduction. All right, now as soon as the heat get inside, it will start to move everywhere to move or transfer the heat through this liquid. This is an example of convection. Another example, the big balloon. The big balloon has a small flame, as you see. When we light up, this is a flame, it will start heat the air inside the balloon. Okay, then we will start feel the heat move everywhere. That's why it starts blowing up as soon as they get the heat. Now let's do this exercise. Write the kind heat transfer that take place in the following situations. Now, an eruption of lava on the ocean floor, what type of heat transfer? It will be convection. Now the other one, winds blowing in from a warmer part of the country, that would be also convection because the heat transfer through the air. Now number 3, feet touching a cold floor. A cold floor. Now touching, that's mean conduction. That's all about our lesson today, which is a method of transfer the heat or how's the heat move. We said there is 3 different ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. Now in part 3 we will talk about radiation. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys stay safe. Thank you.